So here it is, the 2019 crash damaged Aston Martin, which so far to repair has cost me £16,504 and 54p. And that's not including my labour. But what a great looking car it's turning out to be. And although it has cost me the best part of £16,000 so far to get to this point, it could have cost me a lot more. I've managed to cross-reference parts that Aston Martin used from other cars like Volvos, Mercedes and even Citroën and Peugeot to make a super expensive rebuild just become expensive. But there is a few things that we're missing in order to complete this car today. And that should be in this box right here. Here we have the seat belts. If you remember in the last video, we still had 2 warnings on the dashboard, both referring to the pre-tensioners on the belts. I sent the old belts off to the airbag team. They've put new tensioners on the belts. And this cost me £455. But with that, we've got brand new belts with a more vibrant red than before. And once we install these ones, we should hopefully have no more lights on the dash. The belts can only be installed one way. If you install these at the slightest wrong angle, then the belts will just be locked out and you won't be able to put them on. And if you remember from the last video, we had to strip almost half of the interior out just to replace these belts. So it's a fair old job putting this all back together. But once I got the belts back in, I could then reinstall the seats. And now it's starting to look more like a complete Aston Martin. So here it is, one complete interior with now, fingers crossed, no more warning lights on the dashboard. So this should be it, a complete car. And there's only one way to test it, the AUTEL. Will we have any restraint faults from the Aston Martin now with the new seatbelts in? Come on. Airbag, oh, airbag light has gone off. No messages so far. Ignition on. All lights on the dashboard. No messages. It is looking good so far. We just need to check whether we have any codes on the AUTEL. Now remember, we have to scan this car as a Mercedes 205 C63. We learned this from the very first day that we picked it up when we tried to use the AUTEL to scan it as an Aston Martin and it wouldn't work. But bearing in mind that the Aston uses an AMG engine, it seems like the ECU is also an AMG one. A lot of you guys have been asking where I got my AUTEL from, and I've put a link in the description box for that as well. But so far, we're looking like we've got no faults, which is great. Not even any on the restraint system. Yes. I'll have a fault here. I'm gonna. Yeah, okay, fault. 360 camera, yeah. Although we didn't pass with flying colours, it seems we have a few faults, all of which just looks like they need calibrating, like the 360 camera, and we need to add gas in the aircon. But there's no dramas there. So there it is, one almost faultless Aston Martin Vantage. Who would have thought it from the moment we picked this thing up? And the final part of the puzzle, well, the seatbelts. Now, seatbelts used to protect you in the real world, right? But we spend a lot of time in the virtual world, right? So to protect you in the virtual world, you need something called a VPN tool, and that's where Surfshark comes into place. But what's a VPN tool? Well, let me explain. So VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. So what does that mean? Well, that means it encrypts all the data sent via the internet so no one can steal your passwords, steal your videos, view your online messages, or see what you're doing online. Well, what about public Wi-Fi? You see, a lot of people think public Wi-Fi is safe, but they're wrong. Public Wi-Fi is a goldmine for hackers, but not when you're using Surfshark. Let's say you're watching Netflix in the UK and you want to watch the film Johnny English Strikes Again, but it's not available to watch in the UK. Well, here's a quick and easy fix. You go over to Surfshark in the top right-hand corner, change your browsing location to France, go back onto Netflix, research for the film, and there it is, ready to watch. And this one's conveniently about a cyber attack. So, to get Surfshark today, you can click the link in the description box below and use code Matt Armstrong. That's going to give you 83% off plus an extra 3 months for free. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there is literally no risk. So, white calipers. We painted the calipers in the last video, and I was going to explain in this video why we went from red to white. But before I do that, I've got to make sure I bleed the brakes. I didn't do this straight away because I wanted to make sure that the paint was fully cured before I start bleeding them, and then may accidentally drop a little bit of brake fluid on there. For this, I'm going to be using my brake bleeding kit, which I grabbed off eBay. And on the Aston, there's 2 bleed nipples each side, and we're just going to pull a vacuum out of both using my kit. So this is the part where we separate a few people. Now the Aston looks great in black, I admit, but it was never going to stay this colour. It wasn't my final idea of what this car was going to look like once I've finished with it. I wanted to make this carbon here and on the front. I wanted to just pop away from the car. And also black cars are one of the hardest to keep looking fresh, especially when I want to actually drive this thing. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be wrapping it. Oh no, why are you doing that? You're just going to ruin it. Look, if we all like the same thing, we'd all be driving the same car in the same colour. It'd be such a boring world. Yeah, but why wrap over fresh paint? Why didn't you just get the whole thing painted if you wanted the colour change? Well, because it would have cost a lot more to paint than just a bonnet and a bumper. And besides, wrap gives you the flexibility to be able to change the colour of the car whenever you like. Well, you can't wrap over fresh paint, and whatever colour is in that box, well, I just don't like it. Don't worry. It is not fresh paint. This car has sat here for a while now, just like the Range Rover did before I wrapped that, just like the RS5 did before I wrapped that, and just like the Golf R did before I wrapped that. And I understand not every single person is going to like what I do. That's the whole point of the comment section below. You guys can comment your opinion. But if I'm honest, I've had a little peek at this and I'm not so sure about it on the roll. Maybe it'll look different on the car. And I know I'm also going to get the question of why didn't I just wrap the car instead of getting it painted? It would have saved some money. Well, I have actually done this on a few builds, and some people have said I've not done a proper job because the car's not been painted underneath the wrap. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which way I do it or which way you guys choose to do it if you're going to do this yourself at home. Some people will like it and some people won't. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to go about this, but for this time, I've decided to paint it before the wrap. So now that that's over and done with, let's show you guys the colour. Here we go. This is KPMF's Satin Iced Red. I think that's the name of it. We used the purple on Liam's Audi S3, and now it's time to use the red on the Aston Martin. Now at first glimpse I wasn't too sure, but now I've saw it with a bit of sunlight on it, it's got a nice shine to it and it should pop nicely against the carbon. But there's only one way of finding out what an iced satin red Aston is going to look like, and that is to start getting it on the car. So why satin red? Well, originally, and I know a lot of you guys wanted to see British Racing Green. The problem is British Racing Green is an Aston Martin colour, and I think if I try and replicate that with a wrap, it would just make it look like a fake version and it just wouldn't look right. So instead of trying to replicate something, I wanted to go completely the other end of the scale and do a colour that Aston Martin don't do from the factory. Satin red. That way I think the car is going to stand out from the other Aston Martins whilst also giving it a nice finish and not clashing with the interior being black with red stitching. And I think the white calipers are going to contrast nicely against this colour. And if you guys are watching this at home, I want to encourage all of you not to be scared of what other people think about what you do to your car. It is your car. Do what you like. Okay, so what are we thinking so far? I'll be honest with you guys, when I put the rear quarter on, I wasn't too sure. But then when I started to put the door on and I started to see lines in the car that I didn't even know was there, like here and all like that, when you see it on the black side, it just hides those sort of lines, and then it also as well makes the carbon pop so much nicer against the sort of red rather than the black against the carbon. So at the minute, I think we're onto a winner. We could be. Now my sort of original plan was to leave these side skirts black, but now that I've got the door and the rear quarter wrapped, I'm thinking those side skirts look a little bit strange just being black. So I think I will wrap them, but I don't know, maybe I'll leave it to last just to see what it looks like. And the same goes for the door handle. I wasn't too sure whether to leave these black or go red, but I'm sure these handles are designed to sort of make the door look nice and smooth, and then with it being black, it just stands out a lot. And yeah, I think it probably has to go red. It's just these parts of the handle here, it's going to be really nice to get a nice sort of cut around there, unless we remove the whole thing, which I could imagine being a well, it's going to be a nightmare, isn't it? So I think we'll try and wrap it with it on, but again, we'll come back to that. So next up is the bonnet, and this is not going to be like a regular bonnet. This bonnet is huge. It's actually wider than the wrap. You can see here how much we're going to have to stretch the wrap to be able to do this in one piece. So I was here for a fair amount of time trying to heat it up, pick it up, stretch it, heat it up, pick it up and stretch it, and time after time I could not get it to stretch the whole length of the bonnet, but eventually with help from Hannah we just about managed to do it. But I wanted to be careful not to stretch it too far that it discolours it, but I think we've just about popped the nail on the head with it, and look at it clashing against that carbon so nicely. Moving on to the front bumper, which is usually one of the hardest parts of a car, but this front bumper on the Aston, well, it's pretty small, so easily done. And with a little editing magic, the left side is done, and moving on to the boot. But again, all tiny little panels, so it wasn't too difficult if I'm honest. I've made the executive decision to wrap the side skirt red. I felt with it being black, it was hiding part of the car and making the Aston look higher than it actually is. And with the side skirt wrapped, I can then pop the wheels on, do the last final touches before getting the Aston Martin on the road, faultless for the first time since the accident. So here I am, the budget James Bond with holes in his ears. But what a car. It looks absolutely unreal, and I am over the moon with this. To drive this for the first time with no faults is absolute. I cannot even explain the feeling you get when driving this car. It makes you just want to make excuses up just to go out and drive this thing. It's so good. It's fast, it handles well, the seats are comfy, and it looks so good. I still actually cannot believe that this is my car. This is unreal. From what it was to what it is now is It's absolutely unreal. Now, a few of you may have noticed a few changes that I did before I revealed this thing to you guys. I still can't take me seriously in this. And that was the side skirts here and also the front splitter. Now, when I first pulled the Aston outside after wrapping it, something just didn't look right to me. And my eyes were immediately drawn to the red side skirt that I had. So straight away, I got rid of the red side skirt, leaving it black, which then looked a lot nicer flowing into the black rear diffuser that we have here. But still something was giving me the ick. And actually what it turned out to be was the front splitter. I actually downgraded this to the black one rather than having the carbon one on the front. I think from looking at it from the side of the car and seeing a carbon front splitter, then moving into a black side skirt and a black rear diffuser, it just didn't look right. But now I think it works a lot better, even though it is a bit of a downgrade. But that doesn't mean I got rid of the rest of the carbon. Everything from the front wing upwards is all carbon, like the carbon mirrors and then also the carbon massive bonnet vents that it's got. And what a final product. Well, it's not quite final just yet, but we've got a few more videos for that. But for now, I'm gonna go and enjoy this Aston a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think of it. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Holy f***. What the hell, bro? Get out! No!
You're like a drug that I just can't deny.